I can confirm that we've got a counter-drone team in northern Iraq, and they took down Iranian drones during the course of the last 24 hours.
So, straight to John Healey, MP, the Defence Secretary. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Saying we like our listeners to participate, got one question here. I have a simple question. Does the United Kingdom support US and Israeli action in Iran or not?
We didn't participate in the strikes on Iran, but we share that primary aim that the US and allies across the region have, a determination that Iran should never be allowed to develop a nuclear weapon. We share the condemnation of a regime that has sponsored terror, including attacks in the UK, and murdered many of its own citizens. The concern for me now as Defence Secretary is that the Iranian reaction is increasingly indiscriminate, with attacks widely across the Middle East, targeting not just military bases, but also hitting hotels in Bahrain and Dubai, hitting the national airport in Kuwait, and for many people back home in Britain here with friends or family that are in the Middle East, particularly in Dubai, looking for that winter sun, this will be a period of great concern as we see this sort of escalating risk from the Iranian reaction regime.
Okay, so you welcome the outcome, but you didn't support what Keir Starmer has described as our closest ally in taking it. Why?
Our full focus has been on the defensive actions that we can take to contribute to wider regional security.
I mean, I appreciate that.
Several weeks ago,
I want to come on to that. But if you condemn the regime which the president is trying to overthrow, why didn't you support the action? What is the reason for it?
Because our full focus has been on the
sorry, that's an alternative. Why not support this action? I mean, after all, you were someone who voted to go into Iraq in 2003 as under Tony Blair's government. Why has the Keir Starmer government not supported this action?
We're making the contribution that we're best placed to do, which is making our full priority defensive action alongside allies and to protect our own. We're doing that in a coordinated operations across the region, including with the US, and we were not part of the strikes on Iran.
But you didn't even give it the passive support of allowing British-controlled bases to be used. That's something that, of course, Margaret Thatcher did in the case of Libya. Why? Why deny our allies the right to use bases? What is the reason?
Well, I'm not going to disclose or get into details of the discussions that we have with any of our allies or within government. Judge us by the actions that we're taking, and those actions were weeks ago to increase Britain's defences in the region, to be flying planes throughout yesterday and will continue over the weekend, and those are to protect the UK personnel and bases, which increasingly are at risk in the way that Iran is, in an uncontrolled and indiscriminate way, now hitting back widely across the region.
Okay, I'll make it easy for you. Did you do it because you believe that the action taken by the United States is against international law?
Well, it's for the US to explain its own legal basis. Everything that we do is active, it's defensive, it's within the international law, it's coordinated with allies.
But the Prime Minister
that wider regional stability as well.
The Prime Minister has made great play of his belief in international law. Do you believe that this did conform to international law?
It's not for me to set that out. It's for the US to explain their legal basis. what I will do is explain what we are doing, and as Defence Secretary, my top priority
all right, we're clearly not going to get
those UK personnel in the region.
All right, let's get on to that.
In the way that the Iranian regime is hitting back.
Let's get on that. What are the UK personnel doing? Are they helping defend against the missiles which the Iranians are launching into the Gulf and into Israel, as they have done previously?
They are helping defend that regional security.
So they're shooting down Israeli missiles. Shooting down Iranian missiles.
They are indeed. So the UK planes flying out of Qatar are protecting any missiles that may be directed in the direction of Qatar. Those flying out of Cyprus are doing the same there. But of course, when we've got our jets in the air, they're going to shoot down, quite rightly, any missiles or drones that they see. That's sometimes hard to know exactly where they may be directed. So that's what I mean when I say Britain is helping.
Well, presumably they're not shooting down American missiles. They can tell the difference.
Of allies.
They can tell Israeli and American missiles. Yeah, and they're not shooting those down. Okay, and what about? I'll give you an example. These are fresh details I can confirm. We've got a counter drone team in northern Iraq, and they took down Iranian drones during the course of the last 24 hours. We've got, to give you an example of the risks that our personnel face as Iranian reprisal attacks become increasingly widespread and uncontrolled. We have around 300 UK personnel on the Bahrain military base that was hit by missiles and drones from Iran yesterday. Some of those personnel were within a couple of hundred yards of that attack. We saw 2 ballistic missiles fired in the direction of Cyprus yesterday. We're pretty confident they weren't targeted at Cyprus, but it's an indication of just how the rising risks in this region by an increasingly uncontrolled Iranian response can put UK personnel, civilians and military at risk, which is why we've stepped up that defensive action. It's why we're coordinating that, because we can protect our own people, but we can protect our regional allies and partners at the same time. As this escalates, if those forces engaged, or indeed British citizens in places like Dubai, come under attack, are there any circumstances under which the UK would join in the attack on Iran or allow the Americans to use its bases?
All our actions, defensive actions, all of our actions.
That's so far. I'm saying if this appears to be an escalating situation, is there a consideration that the UK could reconsider its posture?
But every decision I take as Defence Secretary is about the safety of the personnel that put their lives at risk to protect the rest of us, and I know the Prime Minister has that at the heart of the decisions that he takes as well. We will do what we need to defend UK personnel and bases, to help reinforce the protection of regional allies and regional security, and we will do what we can to prevent further escalation, which is why the Prime Minister yesterday said very clearly, Iran can end this now, it can give up its weapons programs, it can pull back from these increasingly widespread indiscriminate attacks that are hitting military and civilian targets, and that allows us the route back to diplomacy, which in the long run is how we secure that first priority, long-term stability in the region, and in Iran without nuclear weapons.
Okay, but Donald Trump has said not just that he wants the full end to the nuclear program and the missiles, he also wants regime change. Does the United Kingdom support that?
Well, we're all determined as allies, the US and in the region and the UK and Europe, that Iran should not have a nuclear weapon. I, for one, don't mourn the death of the Ayatollah. He oversaw a regime for decades that was a sponsor and exporter of terror around the world, murdering its own people. It's now a regime that is putting increasingly countries in the Middle East, that have nothing to do with this conflict. It's putting UK personnel and bases at risk, and that's what you'll see me responding to, and that's what you'll see the UK planes in the air are responding to as part of a coordinated regional defensive operations.
Nonetheless, Iran was attacked without offering direct provocation by the United States and Israel. Do you accept that it has a right to defend itself? We would do the same in circumstances.
The question for me is how is Iran responding? And what we're seeing already is attacks on civilian, not just military targets. We're seeing many countries across the Middle East being put at risk and attacked. And we're seeing increasingly indiscriminate attacks and a serious concern of Iran's command and control systems being damaged, the inability to stop across the board, and missile commanders given the free hand to choose what they fire, when they fire it, where they fire it, which reinforces my concern and determination that we will do what we need to protect British personnel in the region and British bases and those British partners.
If it comes to an acceleration in this war which leads to the deployment of ground forces, of American ground forces, are you ruling out at this stage any chance that the UK would join in that?
This is not about troops on the ground for regime change. This and everything we're doing is about defensive action.
Yeah, well, I'm sorry, but that's not what Donald Trump is
bases.
saying. I know he's not committing ground forces at the moment, but he is talking about regime change. So if it comes to it, can you rule out at this stage? Because I have to say, the whole tone of what you're saying appears to be, perhaps following your defeat by the Greens in the by-election, that you want to placate that element of British public opinion which is opposed to this engagement.
The decisions the Prime Minister and I are taking, the British government are taking, has absolutely no connection with the by-election result. This is about the action we must take to defend our own personnel and bases, the action we can take to help protect regional allies and are being asked to do so, and the coordination of that action alongside allies, including the US, always defensive, always within international law, always concerned to make sure that we're trying to secure the long-term stability in this region, which is why the Prime Minister has urged Iran to step back from these widening attacks that are putting so many lives at risk.
What about the US? Should the US step back now?
The US is making its decisions for itself. It's explaining its decisions as well. We're working alongside the US for the...
It's a simple issue. If you want to calm the situation, then you're calling on Iran not to fire. Are you also calling on the Americans not to fire?
No, with respect, I'm the British Defence Secretary. I'm not going to tell President
Well, just tell
Trump
the Iranians what to do.
You've got plenty of commentators that come on your programme.
I'm not asking for a commentator. I'm asking for the position of Her Majesty's government.
Yeah, you're asking me to jump ahead to deal with hypothetical.
No, I'm just saying you're telling Iran to stop its counter response to the American attacks. Are you saying to the Americans that they should stop?
I am indeed, and I'm doing that because
and the Israelis as well. They should stop their attacks now.
I'm telling Iran that they should stop these widening attacks across the Middle East because they're putting UK lives and bases in jeopardy. They're destabilising the wider region, and they increase the risk of wider escalation. For all those reasons and those priorities, that's the reason that we're taking the action that we are, and we're doing that coordinated with other allies.
John Healey, thank you very much indeed. That is the UK Defence Secretary, of course, Labour MP.